I am a mentally unstable person who lives in a minivan, and I need a full psychiatric assessment. Like, I go around people when I have to.
My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, not woken up for the liberals. We are the political orphans. I agree with that face 100%, and that is exactly why I chose this clip. And that's a good start. Not even 30 seconds in, you already dropped the F-bomb.
Yeah.
Goddamn. So this is a man by the name of Alice Michael Attwood. Today he received, my apologies. Yesterday he received the sentencing for stabbing his two children. 5 years in prison is what he received for basically cutting 75% of his daughter's jugular and stabbing his son in the process. This is the man in question. 5 years is crazy. All he had. It's absolutely wild. Insane. But I just showed you a tiny little clip in order to kind of put some context to this. But I found two of his videos, two of very recent videos, I may add. While he was awaiting sentencing, he even mentions it in one of the videos. So I just wanted to show a tiny clip. I'm going to show this video now. It's about 2.5 minutes long, just to show you the type of people we're talking about. And come on, Wild 1957 Flower, you should know better. Not only am I going to name the judge, I'm going to show you what that man looks like, because that guy needs to be exposed. So come on, give me a bit more credit than that. But you need to show patience. So let me play this video. It's a couple of minutes long. React all you want, because it is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. Absolutely insane. But here is a very deranged man by the name of Alice Michael Attwood.
I think it's wild that people are like, we're going to find you and we're going to get you. I'm like, yo, I am a mentally unstable person who lives in a minivan, and I need a full psychiatric assessment. Like, I go around people when I have to. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't. Like, I think it's safer for the community the less time people are around me. Why would you come up to someone who did what I did and harass them? People don't actually, but they threaten to, right? And I think that's just wild.
So what he's talking about is exactly that. So basically, I'll give a bit of context right now before we continue the video.
He's out on bail here.
He's out on bail. He was awaiting sentencing. So obviously this was prior to yesterday. But I wanted to show you guys that this is out there. And yes, Wild 1957 Flowers, he is the dude that is from Grand Prairie, Alberta. So he posted this while awaiting sentencing, and you'll see he even refers to it in, I don't believe it's in this video, it's in the next one, but they're both together. But yeah, this was evidence to the judge. The judge had access to this information. It took me 2 minutes to find those two videos. I had seen them before, but this is the type of evidence the judge had before giving him 5 years.
That's crazy. Meaning what? Out in two? It's
probably.
I don't like. He's clearly insane, right? He's clearly insane. But I don't understand this thing that you know, leftist judges have now, where they say, okay, well, the guy's clearly insane, and you're like, yeah, he is. So nothing we can do. Let's just leave him out. Like, yeah, there's a lot of fucking things you can do. Like, I understand, you know, maybe not wanting to put insane people in hardened prisons. Okay, so then build them a nice fucking secure hospital, lock them up there for the next 30 years, 40 years. I don't care. The point is to remove them from society. Why should the fact that they're crazy, even if we accept for a second, like, yeah, he's crazy, but he's not the kind of crazy that we actually mean when they say not responsible for their actions. He knew what he was doing is wrong. He's just a fucking lunatic. But let's say it's the legitimate kind of crazy, right? Schizophrenic, and he thought he was fighting demons and he's fighting his kid or something. Okay, I understand why on some level, yes, they maybe, you might not want to put them in a hardened prison, but there's absolutely no reason why someone like that should ever be in society for a very, very, very long time, if not ever. Probably not ever. And these people will do better in a mental hospital. They'll be happier. They'll do better. Society will do better. And yet we can't, because it's deemed like, if they're so fucking crazy that they don't know that stabbing your kid is wrong, then they don't care where you put them, right? Whether they're out in society or they're out in a padded room, it's all the same to them if they're that kind of crazy.
But that's not the type of crazy we're talking about here. We're talking about the type of crazy that is obviously very aware. I don't know why when I upload videos to this platform, it always lags. But I think I found the actual video off of
he's deranged. But he is not criminally. He knows what he's doing is wrong.
You know, the whole thing with this is I really could not give two fucking shit about what happens to him. Put him in general population with psychopath for all I care. He deserves it. I don't care. Like, this is the thing. I do not have any pity with. If you cross the line with children, go fuck yourself. I do not care what happens to you. I don't care what happens to you. I really could not give two flying fucks what happens to you. If you mess with kids, I don't care. I really, really don't care about your well-being. At this point, they need to take people like that off the street. I don't care if you put them in a crate, in a dog crate, in the backyard somewhere. I don't care. They just don't deserve to be in society because they are problematic to the rest of us. And clearly, he's not hiding it. Like, I believe this is the same video I was just playing, so I'm gonna try from here to make sure. But yeah, okay, so it doesn't lag there. It's so stupid that it lags. Hold on. Where's the damn volume on this? Why is there no freaking volume? You can't hear volume, right?
It looks like it's got the mute button. Can you press that button right on?
Oh, it's right there. Yep.
Until I actually go for my sentencing. And,
so there you go.
This is much better.
I did kind of realize that we do have a highly unique opportunity here, where
he brags about being. Listen to this.
Something heinous, and I'm on social media, whereas pretty much all the other people who do something heinous get locked in a box and blocked out from society, and they don't get to talk to them. So, like,
he's very lucid. He knows what he did.
Does it put me at risk? I'm already at risk.
Listen.
So whatever, I guess. Yeah, sure it does. But also, I know that I'm going to do everything in my part to not hurt anyone else in society, for sure. Like,
okay, well then.
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you.
That was
I feel so much better now.
And we definitely trust you.
Error.
Oh yeah.
And a bad decision that I made.
What do you say? That was a horrible error?
Shouldn't have.
No, that was an error that I've made.
Okay, I thought he said it's an error. I'm like, yeah, it was my stabby era. It was my kid's stabby era. That was a bad era for me.
Jesus.
Ever done it. I never will do it again. And if I could rewrite history and make it so I didn't do it, I would. But
he looks really broken up, right? He looks really he looks really remorseful.
Definitely have to
and I guarantee you that retarded judge
just have to
took what he just said and said, hey, he's remorseful.
Deal with it.
Like, bro, come the
so
fuck
what
off.
do you think?
You're absolutely right. I'm ready to bet that it is exactly what happened.
It's what, like, the thing that's happening here is you've got this definition of criminal insanity to include the most heinous crimes. So it's like these people just assume that evil people don't exist, and therefore if someone does something so heinous, so evil that it's hard to fathom, that is proof that they are just crazy and can't be responsible, because no one could ever do that. And it's such an insane fucking worldview. Yes, evil people fucking exist. There are people that will enjoy that shit. And these are the people that you're leaving out. Meanwhile, yeah, Daniel Penny, he got acquitted because a jury of his peers was not insane, but he was treated by the justice system as a fucking piece of garbage, as a piece of scum. Not nearly as good as this guy is treated. Something's gone wrong.
He was sentenced to 5 years. Just before I get into more of the information, you know what? Let's just get into it. So yep. I got an article here from, oh, my apologies. I got an article here from the Western Standard, because obviously, as you can imagine, not a lot of people are talking about this. Obviously, mainstream media does not really want to approach this one. Yep. But here's an article by the Western Standard that was published yesterday. Grand Prairie transgender parent gets 5 years for stabbing his children. An Alberta judge has sentenced a transgender parent to 5 years in prison for stabbing his 2 children, a term that falls on the higher end of the scale for such offenses. Okay, like, this to me sounds
really wrong. Yeah.
You think? Alice Michael Attwood received a sentence in provincial court. The Crown had been seeking 5 years and a half, while the defense argued for a term of 3 to 4 years. He pled guilty to aggravated assault. Honorable Justice J. Sierra said the severity of the crime demanded a strong response from the court. Like, what strong response? 5 years. 5 years. But listen to this. The judge emphasized the need to protect children as a fundamental value of Canadian society.
And this does not do that.
Listen to this part. Atwood stabbed his 8-year-old daughter in the neck, severing 75% of her upper esophagus. The court heard that Atwood entered his daughter's, Emmy's, bedroom late at night, armed with a serrated kitchen knife. He deliberately stabbed her in the neck while she was sleeping, of all things, requiring emergency surgery to save her life. His 7-year-old son sustained minor injury during the attack. Afterwards, Atwood washed the knife and called 911. So this is not somebody
crazy.
This is somebody that was very lucid, as in he knew exactly what he was doing. But can you imagine this guy was out on bail, living in his van, awaiting sentencing? He was still on social media. I showed you 2 videos of him. That video should have had him
hauled in. They should have hauled him in when they saw that video.
But there's so much wrong in this, because listen to this. I'm a firearm owner, and I posted about this today, and I related it to firearms. He got 5 years. You know what I'm facing as a legal gun owner that bought property legally? If I refuse to give certain of my firearms away, I could be facing up to 10 years in prison under the Criminal Code Section 92(1), knowing possession of a prohibited firearm. He would get half the time I could be facing for stabbing his fucking children. One of them, when she was sleeping, cutting her throat, cleaning the knife, and then calling the police because I don't want to give back a firearm that I bought legally. I'm facing insane. Twice as much time as he does. It's absolutely insane. It is an insanity, absolute insanity.
And I think, of course, the judge deserves a lot of criticism here, but something went wrong even before it got to the judge, because what is with this charge? Aggravated assault? Where's the attempted murder? Where's the attempt? How he stabbed a girl in the neck? How is that not attempted murder? And I fucking guarantee you what happened was some idiot woke prosecutor said, oh, well, he's trans. He's been suffering from transphobia, so he can't, he could possibly know not to stab his daughter and sever 75% of her esophagus. How could he? Or how could she? Is what they said.
This is from what I could find, this is the only judge I could find with the same name that
Holy
was
hell.
Yeah, exactly, right? You see this and you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's hilarious how it's like a phenotype, right? You can see it in the face.
Yeah.
These woke idiots
Oh, yeah.
look like.
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%. But that case just drives me absolutely ballistic because they literally had all the information right there. The guy was continuing to post online, laughing like Pennywise. Somebody said that in the comment section, and that's exactly what he sounds like. He sounds exactly like Pennywise from It. Absolutely crazy. But this thing was allowed to be out on bail. He only got 5 years, which he's probably if he behaves good behavior, he'll probably be out in 3, maybe 2.5.
Sure, of course he will.
For aggravated assault. Aggravated assault. It's you and I get in a fight and I break your jaw. That's a grave act. Like you and I get in a fight, I break your jaw, you complain to the police because you didn't want to fight. That's aggravated assault. Not stabbing your daughter when she's sleeping.
Your sleeping daughter in the neck. That's fucking crazy. And you know, there's gonna and for the next outrage, as Jane Hardy says, anybody know if he's going to a woman's prison? Yeah, I mean.
Oh Jesus! Right? I didn't even think about that. You're absolutely right. You know that he will. Yeah, you know that he will apply for that. No questions about it.
Fucking insane. Now that I noticed in that Western Standard story, they did not use she/her pronouns. I wonder what the
Western is more conservative.
Sure. I wonder what mainstream. What's this guy's name?
Alice Michael Attwood.
Okay. I wonder what mainstream media is
if you Google that name, you will not find any article from mainstream media.
You're right.
Oh, I know. Why do you think? The only two you find is Western Standard that I just showed you, and you'll find an article on Juno News, but you have to pay in order to see it. But those are the only two articles that you will see. Like I said earlier, mainstream media is not taught. The last time you talk about, if you look at the CBC article, like I'll bring up my page just to see the absolute irony here. But here is Google search. When you do a hello Google, and you go to news, like just to show you, Alice Michael Attwood. You got Western Standard from a day ago, Juno from yesterday. You got Western Standard for 2 weeks ago. You got Juno from 12 hours ago. Then you have Grand Prairie Daily Herald from February 25th. Then the next one is CBC, November 6th, but it has nothing to do with this guy. It's Margaret Atwood. So zero article on this from mainstream media. Zero. The only articles that you find is from Juno News, the Western Standard, and what was the other one I said? Grand Prairie Daily Herald Tribune. But that was just over a week ago, so the sentencing hadn't happened yet. He was still out on bail because the sentencing happened yesterday.
That's crazy, man. And yeah, I'm reading here that Grand Prairie article you're talking about. It just says publication ban prohibits identifying information. So they're not even mentioning his name. They just describe the case. That's crazy.
And that's all because he's trans. That's all because he's trans.
100%.
You know, the same thing happened.
All politically motivated.
Just look at Tumbler Ridge. Why do you think we don't have any information on Tumbler Ridge right now? Almost 3 weeks later. Why? Because that dude was trans. That's it. Like I said it in one of my videos. The RCMP and the government cannot admit out loud that trans are mentally ill and shouldn't be around firearm. Because you're basically saying that all trans are ill and none of them should be around firearms. But you remember, if you remember correctly, Trump, one of the things that he said, he kicked out every single people that were trans from the military because he's like, those people should have never passed a mental health check. They should have never been in the military in the first place. So this is one of those situations that in Canada, they're never going to admit that because they don't want to face the PR nightmare that admitting to us or to agreeing with doctors that trans individuals are insane.
Yeah.
Oh, insane or mentally ill. Let me rephrase that. Not necessarily insane, but mentally ill. Let me rephrase that. This dude is completely nuts. He's absolutely. I don't even know how to describe that.
No, this isn't even the regular kind of nuts that we like. No. You know, when we say like, you know, trans people shouldn't be allowed to have firearms. At least for me, that isn't necessarily because they like to dress in women's clothes. I mean, I think that's ridiculous, but it's the fact that they're pumped on so many hormones. It doesn't matter about anything else. Like they're clearly just not capable of being in the right mindset to have firearms. But this guy, that's even completely different from that. And I'm reading this Grand Prairie article. So they release him on bail. Despite then he goes out, they put a identification ban against him, and he goes out there making videos on social media admitting to it, that he stabbed his daughter in the neck, and they still leave him out there, and it does not affect his sentencing. They don't bring up that's fucking insane, man. This guy should be in jail. This guy, you know what? I used to be against the death penalty, but fuck it.
Throw away the key, man.
For some of these guys, throw away the key. Man.
Yeah, throw away the key, man. I don't care.
Yeah,
I really don't care, man. At this point, again, you mess with children. I have every humanity that I possess. When you mess with children, it's out of the window. I don't care anymore. I'm not listening to you. I'm not hearing you. I have no pity for you. In this case, I want big boys. I want him to be thrown in general population with monsters that understands the type of monster they're dealing with. Because this is a guy that messes with children in prison does not do well. There's a good reason why they don't throw them in general population, but we need to stop that. You know what? You want to act like that, you deserve whatever's coming. Whatever it is. I believe in karma. Whatever comes your way, you deserve it. And I could not wish. It's not that I wish it, but he deserves something. He needs to have consequences to his action. And even if you don't believe in that, he needs to be locked up for the rest of his life because of what he did. And he shouldn't be allowed to be out there to not hurt other people. This is the type of person that a second he seems okay, you turn your back on him, you're just walking down the street, and that's the type of guy that stabs you in the back. Why is that guy
just for fun
allowed to be out?
Just for fun.
Yep. So throw away the key. Leave that guy in prison, throw away the key. That's the least we should do.
And you know, and as outside looking in says he will go. Trevor says he will go to women's prison. Jane had already mentioned it. And you know what's really fucked up about that is he almost certainly will go to women's prison. And I bet you it is not a coincidence that he had a son and a daughter, and the daughter got stabbed. You know, it said the son got minor injuries. He probably heard the dad doing this, and he ran in and tried to stop.
That's my understanding. Is like it's some type. I have no proof, but somehow that's my understanding.
Almost certainly hates women. Hates them so much he stabbed his own daughter in the neck, and they're gonna put him in a women's prison because he's got innate girly. Fucking insane.
You know. We had a conversation with, well, you weren't there, but I had a conversation with Craig Sawyer on Sunday, and we talked a lot about evil. We talked a lot about good and versus evil, and you use that word. You use the word evil to describe that guy, and to me, this is the perfect definition. That guy is evil. Just look at him. Just see what's in his eyes. Hear him laugh. Hear him speak. He has no remorse. No remorse whatsoever, and he fully understands what he did. He fully is aware of what he did, and he shows no remorse.
He has to say, I won't do it again. I won't do it again. So he's smart enough to know that.
But that dude is evil. Evil as hell. And this is... We talked about this on Sunday, but I'm a firm believer that we are in a spiritual war. Everything that we see around us is a spiritual war, and like it or not, we're involved. And this guy, like a guy like this, cannot be allowed in regular society. He just cannot be.
No,
He cannot be allowed.
Yep.
And we need to have those serious conversations about people like him, because it is not about people that are out there.
Yep.
How long before that guy does it again? How long before he does it again? Remember the guy? I can't remember the name of the guy, but a few months back, there was this dude that raped his neighbor's daughter. And it turned out that he had done it before.
Was it the trans guy?
Yes, but he was native. So they couldn't he was the right type of people. Yes.
Yeah. Nonsense. You can't share society with some of these people. A guy that would stab his own fucking daughter in the neck and gets 5 years, like you said, out in 2 or 3.
No, absolutely not. That is the most ridiculous thing. And we need to stop caring for those people. Because at one point, who do you care for? The children? Or do you care for monsters like him? I have no care for him. I care about the little ones. I care about the kids, not him. He's not a priority to me. Whatever needs to be done in order to keep children, to keep society safe. And I don't like to say that. Safe from him. Not as in safe, this is a safe zone. This is a safe space. That's not what I'm saying. But that guy's a lunatic. And he's not insane. I don't think we can call him insane.
No,
I think he's just evil. Because insane normally is you don't know what you're doing. That's the defense, at least. But that guy knew what he was doing.
I think most people understand it as, someone who's got schizophrenia, and they think they're fucking stabbing a Nazi, an actual one, and it's actually just a little old lady down the street or something like that, right? Like, of course, that person still has to be removed from society. But if let's assume in that scenario, I don't think I would call that person evil per se. Now, this is not what's going on here. He knew what he was doing. He just decided he wanted to stab his daughter in the neck. And that, it's like these sort of far left woke idiots have infiltrated everything in society, and they've rebranded evil as mental illness. Like, it's like they think.
I love to hear you talk like that.
It's like it's like they think evil doesn't exist. Therefore, if someone does something so evil that you cannot comprehend it, it is de facto proof that they are just mentally ill and they can't help themselves. And even if that were true, they should still never see the light of day ever again. But it's not true. It's bullshit.
Here that I agree, and I even showed that video. Cindy is saying, look at the video of the kid in Tumbler Ridge and how he was laughing alone in that video. Do you remember? He was just filming himself and he was going like this. He was painted like the Joker, and he's like, So, On that note, guys.
Don't get me wrong. That's batshit crazy. But that's not the kind of crazy that we think about when we think someone is not responsible for their actions.
No. That's evil. That's not even crazy. That's evil. That is plain evil right there. Randy, just give me a thumbs up to make sure you can hear us. Awesome. Before we get to our guest of the day, we have to speak about our sponsor, Miss Cleo's Pet Treats. 100% natural dog treats made right here in Canada. Not only are they all handmade, but the meat is locally farmed from Manitoba. None of that nasty Chinese meat. And I got to tell you, my dog is getting on my nerves already, and I just got the box 2 days ago. Because she knows there's a full rack in the fridge with her name on it. So now that I go in that room in the basement, she's waiting by the door, just, hey, where's my treat, bro? Where is my treat? So if you want to give your dog the treats they deserve, check out the link below in the description, CleoCookiesandTreats.ca. We do have a discount code that will get you 20% off your entire purchase. And the discount code is Political Orphans. So just check in the link below. On that note, we're joined by one of my bros. I'm very happy to have this man on the show, just because of a video that I saw yesterday. So we are joined by former JTF2 and owner of Direct Action Combat Performance, Randy Turner, to speak about the government buyback program. Mr. Randy Turner, what's going on, brother?
How are you guys? Hey, how are
Thanks
you,
for
Rob?
hanging. What's going on, brother?
Glad to have you on. Thanks for accepting my invitation. Normally, you're a hard man to get, but there must
Yeah,
have been magic in the air because I texted you yesterday, and you're like, "Yeah, buddy, I can do it tomorrow." So here we are.
yeah.
I
It's
s-
a lucky window of opportunity.
Nice.
there's no such thing as coincidences. We just
Yeah,
needed a third bald-headed guy on the
that's
show
right.
to speak about guns. So I saw this video that was reposted by the CCFR. So we've had Tracy Wilson on the show a few times. We're having her actually tomorrow. We're doing a special episode on women and guns,
Yeah.
how women should get more involved in firearms. And that's probably the demographic that we need the most in Canada. So that's the idea behind it. But we've
Mhm.
had Tracy Wilson on the show a few times. We've had Ian Runkle on the show. We've had a director, a VP out of the NFA as well, because I'm a gun owner, you know this, so this is something that touches me. But you made a video yesterday when you were explaining crossing a line or the line, and what is that line? And that video went viral. I'm seeing it all over the place. I just like the way you talk because you're a lot more calm than I am. You're not as belligerent as I am. You tend to be more collected in the way that you address things. But you want to tell us what's going on because as a job, you teach police officers, you teach military how to handle guns, and a gun that's always in the videos and the pictures that you post out there is the AR-15.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with what I do for a living, there's a business firearms license that there's a whole application that is associated to allowing people like me do this for a living, gives us authorization for this stuff. And it's strictly to provide training and education for military and law enforcement. With the given restrictions in the OIC implementation over the last few years, once upon a time, as you know, the AR-15 was a preferred platform for sport shooting, hobby shooters, etc. And then over the years, that has been put on the prohibited list, which is unfortunate. Luckily, I guess for me, given the fact of what I'm doing for a living, I still have that authorization. So yeah, I mean, it's a privilege. I'm lucky, I guess. It could change overnight, like we've seen. However, without that, it'd be difficult for me to generate revenue and keep the power on and food on the table.
But what do you think of the gun? The I was going to call it the gun buyback, or like it's more of a gun grab than anything else. But what do you think of the gun grab, and when do you think enough is enough? Because as I was watching your video earlier, and I invite the people out there because the video is about 5 minutes long, so I'm not going to play it. We have the real thing instead. But all I could think when I was listening to your video is when is enough enough?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's going to be different for each individual. Like I'm very lucky and fortunate to provide a lot of training for law enforcement, and I've got a great relationship with a lot of municipal, provincial, and federal organizations. And the feedback that I get from them when they serve a high risk warrant and they're taking guns off the street is the firearms are illegally procured. They're brought across the border with all sorts of different creative methods. They're illegal. They're guns that have been shifting hands of criminals from one state to another state to one province to another province. Generally, like 95% of these firearms are not of the firearms that are connected to people like you and I, right? These are, the law abiding, as the phrase goes, the ones that have a license, they've registered the firearms, everything's on the up and up. It's legit. The angle at which the Minister of Public Safety is taken, with the exception of a small number that sometimes get lost, sometimes get misplaced. People make mistakes. Innocent people make mistakes. So every once in a while, these particular firearms may fall into the hands of somebody that, has evil intentions, or somebody that's going to, make a few dollars on the black market selling one of these guns. That is not common. That is the anomaly. That's the outlier. situation that happens every now and again. But to use that as a leverage point to push an agenda that we all know is falsified, and it's an angle that doesn't make any legitimate sense. So my feeling on this whole thing is it's a waste of resources, it's a waste of money, it's an attack on folks that are already, like, rules and laws, think about it for a second, are put in place to keep honest people honest, right? The ones that are dabbling on the other side of the tracks, do you think that they care about what certain laws or rules are in place? So we all get it. We all understand, like, that there is a bigger agenda. There is something happening, at a higher level. But it seems like the majority of us, we're almost too compliant. Like, we don't want to push back. We don't want to ruffle feathers. We don't want to become, the thorn in the back, where I think it's going to get to the point, if it's not already here, where, let's just say, a quarter of the population, let's just, for argument's sake, let's say a quarter of the population who have had enough, and they say, okay, that's it. That's where I draw the line. Think about what a quarter of the population is capable of if they take a stance, right? Yeah. Just think about that for a second. And as we contemplate what that might look like, then I would add an element to the folks that this does not affect. So folks that are not a gun owner, and they feel like this is just a nuisance to them and what they listen to on social media. Then I would say, okay, let's bring you into the conversation, and let's use a piece of history that is pretty close to all of us, not too long ago, and that's the situation in Ukraine. When that situation kicked off, there were folks who were a school teacher today and then a soldier tomorrow. They were, a tradesman yesterday, and then they were a soldier today. So how quickly things can change when situations become very volatile and, I would say, unpredictable. So for Canada and folks that have these firearms that want to hang on to them, rightfully so, and their motivations and the reasons will be different. Maybe it's because they've had enough, and the government is overstepping on multiple occasions for the last decade. They've overstepped, and now people are saying, no, this is my property. I bought it legally. My hard-earned money purchased it, and I want to keep it. There's that one angle. The other angle is, you look at how uncertain the situation of the world is today, and there are people who are legitimately concerned. And if this one firearm or two firearms that are in their household are the ability to provide some sort of protection for their family, they kind of have the obligation to be proficient with it, know how to take care of it, know how to use it. If somebody or a group of people decide that today is the day that, they're going to overtake the situation. So I think for different people, there are different reasons. At the end of the day, the movement, the pressure, the inconsistent messaging, and just, people are tired. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of being bullied. They're tired of being pressured. And it's the good people that are not the issues.
Randy, you say that you work with cops a lot, and I know from this story, we've been following it, that there's a lot. I would say most police services across the country are not complying with this gun grab, gun buyback, whatever you want to call it. What are they saying personally behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think, there are, well, not I think, I mean, I know there's law enforcement guys who I've had the great conversation with, and they own these firearms too. And now they're in the same predicament, right?
Are they complying?
Well, I mean, for sure, these are the ones that are enforcing the law. So they're in a really, they're in a sticky situation, right?
Yeah.
Now, I can only speak to what I've been exposed to, and there's professionals in uniform doing good work every single day, and they're trying to rid the streets of crime and evil, and to see the rhetoric and just the distraction and the nonsense that's going on behind the scenes that causes more issues than it's worthwhile. They get frustrated too.
Sure.
But they're in a tough position because they're literally in the profession to enforce law.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
you're seeing the same thing from military. Like we had Tracy last week coming on saying that she's received multiple accounts by now that some military men and women that are actually overseas serving this country are not going to be able to not even take money for their firearms because they don't. Who has the serial numbers of their firearms that were non-prohibited before when you're serving overseas? But by the time they come back to Canada, they will be paper criminals.
Yeah.
Like this, this is how idiotic this whole process is.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to hear that what we're hearing in the news, what we're hearing from like the CCFR, the NFA, that it seems to be true that the police officers out there from most services out there are just like, we're not complying. And I like what they're saying. They're not saying because we don't want to take away legal gun ownership. We just simply do not have the resources, which is very smart. This is
No.
the way you can wash your hands. And even if it's not true, which I believe that it is still a problem that they do not have the effective to do it. Plus, we've had that conversation behind closed doors. I will not repeat what we said on air, but do you really want to be responsible for going to knock at
Well, it's
somebody's door
dangerous.
that you know
Right?
has those
Potentially.
firearms, that has some type of training? Like a guy
Yes,
like you and I. Like all the guys, you served in the military, Rob. If you had firearms, you know how to use them.
Yep.
I have firearms. I trained for years with firearms. Do you really want to come serve a warrant to take my firearms away? Because you don't know. Maybe I'm going to comply, but maybe I won't.
Well, all it takes is that one guy who's just, this is it, right? This is the fucking final straw. This is his Ruby Ridge or his Waco or whatnot. And those people are out there for sure there.
But that's what, and this is where I was going with this, because we've had that conversation, you and I, behind closed doors. But do you think, because you referred to the people that will say enough, like like you were talking about a quarter of the population, you don't even need that much, like a tenth. If you look at history, a tenth of the population says no more, the rest follows. Like it's always the 10% is about the tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And Canadian gun owners are more than 2.5 million registered firearm owners. How many of those did not comply to the firearm rules that came in place 20 years ago that just said, screw you, we're just... So there's a lot more than 2.5 gun owners in Canada. So we almost are the 10% already, and we're very political. People that own firearms in Canada are extremely political. So do you think that this is the people that are going to say no more, that gun owners will be the people to just say, you know what, we're done. Enough. I'm tired. Enough of this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, like, what the motivations are. I think, I think there's a reasonable solution to this. I think there's a way to put this away, focus on more important issues that our country needs to focus on, focus resources and energy and intelligence into stuff that is more important. I think whoever this is puppeting this whole movement needs to be outed and exposed, and to figure out what is going on at that level, because this is a genuine waste of resources, money, time, like we mentioned earlier. So I would like to see, and I believe it's possible, I would like to see, the collective, speak up, but do it in an intelligent, diplomatic manner. Like, nothing against the CCFR, but I've listened and watched some of the posts that they've released, and man, like they're attacking the liberals, and they're pro firearms. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it where, pointing the finger, cursing, swearing at the libs being the issue. Listen, the liberals are the ones that are in power right now, but who put them there? Who put them there? Like, Canadians got to take responsibility. There is a large group of people that allowed that to happen, right? So I think we can do it just a little bit more intelligently. We can do it a little bit more constructively, to say, listen, there are a lot of people this affects. And then on another level, you think of it from a business perspective. I think the year prior to COVID, the firearms industry in Canada was something like 3 billion, something like that, $3 or $4 billion industry, which means it's generating a lot of income for a lot of people. There's a lot of positives to take away from that. you know, the manufacturing companies, the small mom and pop shops that are doing good, the folks that are hobby shooting, sport shooting, like there's a portion of each and every dollar spent that's going back to the government. So from a business perspective, if you look at it from that angle, there's positive to be had here. So I say we bring it back. We, you know, keep things the way they are in terms of control. It's all well controlled. Those who have the license and have certain firearms, for example, it's known these, you know, these certificates, the chief firearms office of each province, they're aware of these firearms. So rather than putting so much energy and distraction into keeping the good guys down, so to speak, let's generate that energy and do something a little bit more proactive for the betterment of the country. That's my approach to it anyway.
You've always been a lot more political than I've been. We've had a lot of those conversations before. I don't want to say I'm a pessimist, but I'm a realist at the same time. And I can understand why you don't necessarily agree with the way the CCFR does it, but I'm worse than they are. They're way more politically correct than I am. Because in my opinion, this is orchestrated from the top. It's not a coincidence that you have Bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, and a new Bill C63 that's going to come out. They're going after guns right now. It's not a coincidence that the Tumbler Ridge that almost happened 2.5, 3 weeks ago, we still don't know the 4 firearms that he used, yet we know that 2 of them were given back. Like we don't talk about how the RCMP is responsible for what happened in Tumbler Ridge. That judge that gave those firearms back after almost 1.5 years, a month prior to those shootings, they're at fault for what happened. They're responsible for what happened, but we don't hear any accountability. And,
Agreed.
you know, if we look at what happened in Nova Scotia after the massacre that happened in 2020, where Justin Trudeau banned 1,500 firearms overnight, no debate, just did it, and now it's up to 2,500. I know that Tumbler Ridge, they're preparing something that is going to hit gun owners even worse than it is right now. So
Yeah.
as much as I've always respected your approach, because I know the type of individual that you are, but at the same time, I disagree with you because being political hasn't done anything outside of us getting fucked in the ass for the past 5 years. And I don't know if worried is a good term, but I am a bit worried that gun owners are just going to say, fuck you, I'm done. I'm just done. Go fuck yourself. Try to take those guns away from me. See what the fuck happens to you.
Yeah. I'm concerned too, man. And I respect your stance, and I like, I agree the accountability piece, and this is why there's so much mistrust. There's a ton of mistrust. There's a lot of division in our country, which, man, it's frustrating. It breaks my heart. And, you know, as a proud Canadian, I see Canadians that are taking off and they're, you know, moving to the States or just picking up. And 5 years ago, I'd say, come on, bro, like what, like stick around. Like we can make this.
We've had that conversation, you and I, before I left for 3 years in the US. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like,
we
come
spoke
on, man.
about this.
Yes. And now when people say, hey man, I'm packing up and getting there, I'm like, you know what? I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It sucks, but I don't blame you. Where I'm not going anywhere. Like this is my country, and we get an opportunity to share it with, you know, people that have good intentions. When it comes to the accountability piece, and the reason that there's so much friction in you know, really the foundation of this country has been fractionist for quite some time, is because of the decisions being made at those levels, being told one thing and then something else happens, which is completely contradictory. So there's a lack of trust. If the government is serious about, you know, regaining some of that trust, the accountability piece needs to happen. And like there's so many layers to this, but, you know, incarcerated, you know, folks that are incarcerated, how quickly we see repeat offenders, you know, behind bars today, they're out and they're doing the exact same thing tomorrow. Okay. Who's holding these people accountable that's saying, yeah, no problem, let them out? Or, you know, to your example, the judge that said, yep, approved, allow these guns to go back to the homeowner. Who's being held accountable? There's an issue. So why is it that we, the good guys that are doing everything we're supposed to do, we're the only ones being held accountable? So I get why people are frustrated. I totally get it. I would not be surprised if people get to a point where the percolation is happening, right? The percolation is happening. And it's like a pressure cooker, man. At some point, something is
It'll
going to
have enough.
give, and like you picture like a Coke bottle, you shake that bad boy up, for enough years. At some point, you gotta release the cap a little bit, man, to let the pressure out. So
Yeah.
I don't have a solution other than, well, that's not true. My solution would be put this to bed, and the government has the ability to do it. Put this to bed. Let things go back to the way it was, circa 1992 or whatever, and you'll see that things will regulate. And from a strictly firearms related piece, the issues are not with the good guys. So it'll self-regulate. The country will be better off because of it.
Well, and even if you look at it from a perspective of the Liberal Party, saving face a little bit, there's an opportunity for them to do that as well, right? Because obviously it's politics, so yeah, optics are always going to matter. They don't even need to back away from it or admit they fucked up. Just stop enforcing it. Just accept that the cops aren't going to enforce it and quietly, shuffle it out the back door. You don't have to say you were wrong. Just don't enforce it. There's a way they can do it.
Yeah, I agree, because that's what the ego side of those folks, they won't admit that. But you're right.
No. You got to be realistic. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
No. Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have. It's frustrating, and I just think, like, that, for an example, that video that CCFR lifted that we had on the Direct Action podcast and YouTube channel, man, it's generated a lot of negative talk. That was not the goal, man. That is not the goal. Like, we're not trying to generate and create a fire to anyone's negative approach to this. We're trying to say, listen, man, let's get on board here. What's been put in place, we don't agree with, and we don't have to agree with it, but how can we counter this? How can we then, push back and do it in a way that will, gain some traction? That's the angle.
Yeah.
A few years back, I don't know if you remember this, but before I left for the US, we had a podcast at your gym in Ottawa, and we'd have a few of those podcasts there, but I've asked you why you weren't in politics, and that question is still there, bro. That's it's when the CCFR reposted your video, I'm like, I remembered, I told you this years and years and years ago. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but
I do.
I still see it, man. I still, I don't believe that voting matters anymore. I'm a big George Carlin fan, so I don't believe that's a power that matters. It's illusion. It's the illusion of choice. But man, if there's guys out there that I would love to see in politics, is guys like you. I've told you this years ago, and I'm going to repeat it to you again, because man, it's just, you're a badass. You come from a really, really badass background. You understand the problematics, and you can't be discredited for your opinion because you've lived it. So, brother, it's always a fucking pleasure to have you on the show and be able to talk to you, man.
I appreciate it, Nico. And, for what it's worth, there's days, man, where, much like a lot of Canadians, I'm deflated, just like everyone. I'm deflated. They have good days and bad days, and deflated on the direction that our country is going. And the easy button, right? So, like, we think about perception, reality, and then perspective. The perception, people will often say, well, my reality is my perception, because they're choosing to focus on what they see 2 feet in front of them. If we apply a little bit of critical thought and we put our minds and our feet into those who are in an influential position, making decisions, or who it affects. So where I'm going with this is Canadians that this doesn't affect, but they have a strong opinion, right? And they're saying, oh, this, that, and the other thing, but it doesn't even affect them. I would say, just slow down a little bit. Take a moment to put your feet into the shoes of those who it does affect. And then you allow yourself a little bit more clarity on the reality of their perception and perspective. And then collectively, you know what? We might actually start getting along and coming up with some solutions that are beneficial to this country. Man, like our country is very quick to rip others down, very quick. But we don't take the time. We don't take the time, generally speaking. Some people a little bit better at it than others, but generally speaking, we don't take the time or put in the energy to put our feet into the boots of others and just take a second and think, what is the perspective of that person in the decisions that they're making, or the words that they're choosing to either lift somebody up or pull them down. It's like, why,
Yeah, and I think it's frustrating on this issue because so I'm not a gun owner. Yeah, as Nico said, I'm ex-military, so I'm quite familiar with weapons. I don't have, I guess you could say, a dog in this fight. I don't, most of my understanding of the politics of this have come on this show, sort of talking to Nico about it. I think, like most reasonable Canadians, I don't really think that there's any need for these kind of programs, because it's just not, except for Tumblr, even Tumblr Wrench over the last 20 years, the statistics, the numbers are way, 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 way down. There's no way you can make the case statistically that this is a real problem for Canada. And I think what's frustrating is it seems to me that 95% of the political will for this kind of a program is just an indirect reflection of most Canadians' desire to not be American. It's just like a backlash from American politics, right? They see,
Yes.
shootings down in the States, and they say, oh, well, we better do it up here, even though there's no need to do it because these crimes are just not happening in any statistically significant number.
That's a great example, a brilliant example. And I would echo that with, fuck me, man. Like when the Americans do something that's optimal, Canadians light right up. We're like, oh, we should do that too. Well, we're already 5 years behind.
Sure.
But when something goes sideways that's less optimal in the States, Canadians, those Americans, and then they have something negative to say. It's like, holy fuck, man. How about you look in the mirror and you be a proud Canadian? You look at what's going on in your own backyard, clean that shit up, and start worrying about yourself instead of what's going across the border. If even 50% of Canadians would take that approach, man, our country would, buddy, our country would be dynamite,
Well, we'll regularly say on the show, it seems like the fundamental core of the Canadian identity is just not being American, right? Whatever America does, we have to do the opposite. Not even because it's official, just on principle, and it's absolutely retarded.
I agree with you. The amount of conversations I've had with people because of what's going on with the tariffs and all that good stuff, and what Trump says, people have put their stance in they're flying the flag with pride. I'm not going to the States.
Yeah,
okay,
their whole identity becomes that.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, why? Well, because of this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, oh, okay,
well, sure,
all right. Yeah. Think about what you're saying. Like, oh man. Anyway, yeah.
It was a good show if we got Randy to swear like 3 times. That to me is a badge of honor. That is not the easiest. I've known you for almost 20 years, bro, and I can probably count on one hand the amount of time I've heard you swear. And 3 of them were in the past 5 minutes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Brother, I don't know if you have something you want to put out there, something you're working on before we let you go, but I really appreciate your time, brother, as always.
Yeah, man, Nico, Rob, thank you guys. Appreciate it. I know you guys are trying to do some good things, and I agree with you, and I appreciate the pushback, and being a realist is what we need. And sometimes we're gonna say things that will offend people. Man, that's okay. It's okay. Yep. We need to speak the truth, and we need to get this country back to where it can be, man. And sometimes it's like we're gonna piss some people off along the way. You don't have to agree with it, but at the end of the day, if we know what we stand for as a Canadian, and we can be proud of that, we're doing all right.
Amen to that, brother. Always a pleasure, man. I'll make sure you'll. Obviously, I'm gonna have you back on, but for now, thank you for being here, brother. Always a pleasure.
Thank you guys. Your time, Randy. Great chat.
All right. Take care, guys. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too, man. Bye. There you have it.
Yeah.
I've known this guy for 15-ish years, maybe a bit more. We met through martial arts years and years ago. I'm just a fan. I've recorded a lot of content with this guy. He's just a it's hard to believe that he was a JTF2 assaulter for 20-ish years. Like, he does not have that temperament. It looks like, you look at him,
it's funny.
He's just a well-spoken individual.
He doesn't have the stereotypical temperament that you would
No,
think of. But the reality is,
yeah,
is if you meet almost any special forces guys, they're all like that. A lot of them are not. There's the stereotype of the meathead, the classic, like, fuck yeah. Rah, and of course they can be like that. But a lot of the JTF guys, the Navy SEALs,
all the Navy SEALs I've ever met were some of the most relaxed guys ever.
Yeah, highly intelligent. Yeah. It's kind of like, the lion thing, right? You look at a lion out in the wild, and 95% of the time he's fucking sleeping in the sun. He's just a lazy fuck, right? It's just that 5%. It's go time.
I'm just laughing because I can see Randy laughing in the background.
Yeah, well,
because he's still in the back room and he's laughing. Right?
I knew guys who went. To selection there at JTF, and I actually knew a couple guys who did not get selected. And the guys that didn't get selected, I think we were all surprised because they were super switched on. Right, the just physical fitness was top notch, but they were cocky. Right, they were arrogant, and that's one of the guys that did get through. Yeah, of course, they were also top physical shape, but they were unassuming guys. They didn't need to be the center of attention, and that's the archetype. That's the personality type that those units are looking for.
It's Randy's just one of those guys. I know he's in the background, but he's it's one of those guys. He's just a very, very relaxed individual.
Yeah,
he is just so laid back,
and that's the temperament. Because these guys are highly trained killers, right? You can't have a loose cannon out there with that kind of training. No, that's dangerous shit.
No. And when we'll finish on that, but one of the things that I'll always remember, I don't know if I've ever told Randy this, but when I met Randy, he was fighting professional. If I remember, he wasn't retired yet, or he was just about to retire. And I always laughed because this is a guy that is extremely trained. He's the top notch of the Canadian Army. And I always laughed that he was probably fighting out of boredom. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go something that scares 99.9% of people shitless, stepping in a ring with 4-ounce gloves with somebody that's trained to rip your head off. And he probably did it because he was bored. Like, that's all. That's my idea of Randy Turner when I met him. So, yeah.
That's funny. All right, guys, we're gonna pin it there. Excellent chat.
Excellent chat with. Hold on, before you do, I just need to talk tomorrow. Tomorrow, Wednesday, I organized I call it Women and Guns special episode where Tracy Wilson from the CCFR is gonna join us. We are also joined by hosts of that Hunting Girl TV on Sportsman channel, Amanda Lynn Mayhew, and advocate for legal gun owner, the brass-loving brunette. That's tomorrow, so Women and Guns. And on Thursday, we are joined by University of Toronto Professor Trudeau Lemons to speak about MAID.
Yes, excellent. So you definitely, guys, are going to want to tune in for that. We had an excellent show tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, with the guests, we won't get to the comments quite as often, but if you are just tuning in, this show is heavily based on audience engagement. So come back and watch. You throw those comments in there. Agree with us, disagree with us. We'll get to them when we can. And if you want to support the show, you can do so by becoming a member through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee, which you will see in your upper left-hand corner of your screen. And then, of course, the final way you're going to support the show is just keep coming back. Keep doing that thing. Keep throwing those comments in there. Other than that, folks, you have a great rest of your night, and we will catch you tomorrow.
Peace.